this is a group that has been out there talking about science. So it makes sense as a place to start. I don't think we can stop there. We need to also analyze what evangelicals think alongside other groups of religious people to find out if evangelicals are truly unique. But I think this makes sense as a place to start. And a place to start if we want to have a broader societal acceptance of science and appreciation for science, because this is a religious group. It's a very large share. Some sociologists of religion think the largest share of the American religious public. So this makes sense as a place to start.
And Galen, could you tell us a little bit about what evangelical means? Obviously, it's a very diverse community and very large, as William referred to. So how does the National Association for Evangelicals define evangelical?
Sure. We think that evangelicals are people who take the Bible seriously and trust in Jesus as their Savior and Lord. More broadly, evangelicalism is the renewal movement within Christianity. It's people who focus on the Bible as the authority for their way of living, and then focuses on the work of Jesus Christ and how we can have a personal relationship with Christ as the center of our lives, and something that then impacts everything we do, including our occupations, for those in science, the work they do in their scientific careers.
And Elaine, you talked a little bit about how there's this perception in the general public that scientists can't be religious, or there's this false choice being presented between being a scientist and practicing religious faith. What do both of you think that we're losing when science and religion are presented as an either-or choice?
Religious kids will feel like they can't go into science. And I think that's particularly consequential for the future when we're in a situation where we want America to be competitive with other countries in the science occupational structure. We want the best and the brightest to go into science. And there's good reason to believe that some of those best and brightest are centered in religious communities. And we just want kids who might be talented in these areas to have all the access to science that they can. Obviously, there are implications for the funding of science. There are implications for appreciation of science. There are implications, I think science policymakers believe that having a fundamental understanding of science is just a good part of being a good citizen. And so we wouldn't want anything from the science side, we wouldn't want anything to hamper that. So I think that's extremely important.
And I would add that science is not something which is conducted in a vacuum. It's a part of the broader national life, economic life, educational life of a nation. And so having the participation of the whole society, and particularly having voices that bring a moral sensibility to the conversation is quite important, so that the work of science is done for the service of the common good.
Jennifer, do you have any comments on that? What are we losing if we present a false choice between religion and science?
Well, I think, as Dr. Eklund said, we're losing a lot of potential science talent. We as scientists, we want to be very clear about the kinds of questions that science can address, and not to sort of overreach into some of these bigger questions that science is not well equipped to address, and thereby not disenfranchising science talent out there unnecessarily. So I think we want a couple things. We want to make sure that all the potential science talent out there is not unnecessarily distanced from science based on this perception of science. But we also want to be able to communicate our science results to as broad an audience as we can. That's what serving society is all about. And if our message is muddled by some misperceptions that we as scientists have about religious groups or that religious groups have about us, that makes it more difficult to make the results of science to be of maximum benefit to the most people. So I think there are many reasons why we want to make sure that misperceptions, that's what this project is all about, is gauging perceptions, right or wrong, that people have, making sure that we can kind of move as much as we can away from misperception so that we can have more honest dialogue not agreement on everything, but at least have more constructive conversations and understanding that there might be some underlying assumptions and things going on in people's minds that might not be accurate. So this whole project from the scientist point of view is very interesting because it gauges not just people's opinions on this science topic or that, but on their perceptions. What are the perceptions that religious groups have about scientism and about the importance of science itself? And do scientists come across in a way that we don't really even realize we're coming across, in a way that's not constructive to dialogue? And also it's interesting because the survey goes into how scientists perceive religious groups, right or wrong. And I like the way the survey is looking at a broad swath of people in scientific careers, the kinds of folks that people on the street would think of as their neighborhood scientists, if you will. So not only just scientists in research universities, but also scientists in local industries and local educational institutions and science-related technical careers. These are the people that are more likely to be run into by people on the street. So I think these perceptions are very important because they can actually either enhance or hamper our efforts as scientists to share the results of science with the broader public.
And from the point of view of evangelicals, just as the AAAS has the mission of serving society, so we as evangelicals also have the same calling to serve society, and so we can do that in part by participating in scientific endeavors and giving our best contributions to making the whole process work and advance further.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about we've already talked about this very popular perception of this kind of either or choice between science and religion, but let's talk a little bit about what science and religion have in common. Like Gail mentioned that they're both, at least in certain organizations, like when the AAAS or the National Association of Evangelicals, maybe this doesn't extend out so far to every other religious community or scientific community, but serving society is extremely important. What other things can sort of bring science and religion together in a way, like at least in close enough proximity that starting to think about dialogue might become possible or productive?
Both scientists and religious people, particularly evangelicals, have a real concern for diversity in American society. So, scientists that I talk with in my research are very concerned there's not better gender representation, there's not better minority representation in science. Those persons are heavily concentrated in the evangelical community and Catholic communities. And so there's reason to believe that if we increase the diversity of religious people in science, we'll also be increasing the diversity of science overall. I know from the evangelicals that I've talked with for my research that there's a huge concern in making sure that churches are more diverse, that diversity is a concern, that justice is a concern. And so I think those kind of the sensibility of justice for society is something that religious communities, particularly evangelical and scientists, can really get on board with, wanting to find, wanting science to be used to solve food insecurity, wanting science to be utilized to, care for the environment. So these kinds of things I think the communities can really share, and that perhaps, I don't want to sound Pollyanna-ish, I mean, there's a long way to go, but perhaps it's more productive to start where there's areas of commonality rather than go right to the hot-button areas of difference.
Yes, and we share a common vocation of pursuing truth as well. For Christians, we believe that all truth is God's truth, as St. Augustine said, and science as well has the same vocation to expand the frontiers of knowledge, and as they do that, it's beneficial to everyone and something that we can all support.
So we're starting to have some questions come in online from our audience, and please, if you're watching, leave your questions in the comments. This question comes from Adam Shapiro. Is there any sense of certain scientific fields being more or less attractive to people identifying as religious? That is, are science religious as perception, detracting people from entering science, or diverting them into subfields that are maybe less threatening to religion? And are there particular subfields of science that do attract more people who identify as religious?
So we're going to be able to analyze that with these survey data. We're not quite there yet. From broader research that I've done among academic scientists, we would be led to believe that people who are religious are less likely to go to research universities to work as scientists. And so there ought to be a lot of discussion about why that's the case, but that seems to be pretty incontrovertible that that's the case. So in this population of rank and file scientists, 17% describe themselves as evangelical. In other research I've done, a survey I conducted at this point 8 years ago, only less than 2% of scientists who work at top research universities describe themselves as evangelical. So there's a real difference there. So I'd say the kinds of spaces where they do science is different. There's some overrepresentation. As we look at research on college majors and things like that, there's some overrepresentation of evangelicals, at least in science vocations that we would think of as helping people, such as medicine, more applied forms of science. And so I'm interested in seeing these research when we get to the point of, we're taking the major and translating it into actually being a working scientist, if that's true in these data too. So stay tuned. Don't think this is all there is. So we've just started crunching the numbers for this data, but we'll be able to talk about that kind of thing, I think, in some pretty interesting, exciting ways.
Another question from the internet. This is a question from Robin. Do you think that religious principles and norms have to be adapted to the modern scientific realities? As you know, there were a set of concessions in favor of science after the Second Council. So how would you describe the scope of possible further concessions? And if further concessions are made, would religion be in danger of losing its importance and role in society?
It's hard to answer that question.
I think the word concessions is an interesting one, and I'm not sure that would be the word I would use to describe the way in which we engage. I think as Christians and theologians, our task is to try to approach truth as best we can, and we recognize that as fallible, finite human beings, that we don't have all the answers, that we don't always get it right, and that we can approximate more and more the truth as we make the discoveries. So certainly the discoveries of science can be helpful, as well as the advances in other fields, and I would hope that we would approach this with a spirit of humility. It's not that we're rewriting our basic beliefs, but we're open to seeing where we may have a fuller appreciation than we previously had about what actually is. That's the goal of this whole thing.
And here's a question from Anne. When you say religion, what do you have in mind? Different religions are pretty different. Some have specific teachings that others don't have. For example, the Catholic Church teaches that the communion wafer is literally transformed into the flesh of Christ. Are beliefs like this compatible with science? Or are we forced to redefine religion into something much less definite to make them compatible? So perhaps we could start with, for purposes of this survey, what kinds of religious communities were looked at, how were they grouped together or separated, and then maybe we could get into whether or not we have to redefine religious agreement or collaboration with science.
That's a kind of technical question to start out with. So we looked at all kinds of religious groups in our survey, and it's a survey of the general population. There's lots of ways of conceptualizing religion in the survey. So the data that I presented at the AAAS today, we simply asked people to self-classify. So we took their word for it, what they are. And the evangelical classification was a matter of people feeling comfortable with the label evangelical as describing them very well or somewhat well. We also asked them about what kinds of traditional categories they belong to. So are they Catholics, or they might Protestants, or Hindus, or Muslims? And then we also have all kinds of ways of thinking about identities, and the kind of identity categories, the kinds of beliefs that you have as part of your tradition. So we try to have as complex as possible, yet as understandable as possible, a way of defining religion.
And as to the question of theology, we have to have, there are some things that science is very good at measuring, at exploring, and examining, and there's others that it is not at all put forth. And to ask a scientist to provide data on spiritual reality is really not respecting the proper role that they have to play. And similarly, as you wouldn't ask a pastor to give you a scientific theory, based on his biblical studies. We respect the fact that science has a role to play. It studies basically the material reality. It doesn't have a way to study spiritual reality. It doesn't mean that spiritual reality isn't there. We believe it is, but it has to be approached using different methods and tools.
And so I think Elaine, you alluded earlier to these sort of hot button issues and maybe starting in a place of more collaborative place before we get to something, like teaching evolution or creationism in schools, or even climate change, which is, has become politically controversial right now. So did your survey ask people about any of these hot button issues in particular? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it did, Lizzie. Thanks, Steve. So we asked what they believe about creation and evolution, and we allowed, unlike some other surveys, a really broad variety of responses that were pretty fine-tuned, and thought to give you just the top 4 choices among all that we asked that describe this population. So a strict creationist account, so this we labeled as God created the universe, the earth, and all of life within the past 10,000 years. So 22% of the general population has this view, except the view is just describing their view of creation. And evangelicals, 43% had a strict creation view. We also allowed for God-guided evolution, which is God created the universe and the earth billions of years ago. God started and has guided human evolution over millions of years. And here, 18% of the general population compared to 23% of evangelicals said that this describes them well. Intelligent design, which we hear a lot about, and this is the universe and Earth came into being billions of years ago, and humans evolved over millions of years according to the design of an intelligent force. That actually didn't describe, not very many people thought that this described their view well, and 7% of the general population compared to 8% of evangelicals. And you can just bear with me just one more second here. The natural evolution view, which is the universe and Earth came into being billions of years ago, all life, including humans, evolved over billions of years. There was no God involved in either the creation or evolution of life. Only 10% of the general population said this describes their view well, compared to only 3% of evangelicals. So I was somewhat surprised as a researcher that so many